What's going on, everybody? Back again for another episode of Let's Parlay. I'm your host, Monty Taylor. And for this week's episode, I want to talk a little bit more about some things that I've realized that I want to change and how I've implemented that change. So I'm going to be straight at you with this episode with a couple of things that I feel like may help you with whatever your current journey is or wherever you're at this point of the year. I mean, it's already December, but anyway, I'm going on too much. Let's parlay. What's up, family? Appreciate y'all tuning in for yet another episode. We are at episode 26. Wow, I had to check because I was like, I feel like I've done so many by now that I've lost track of where we're at, but not really, actually. I know that I set a goal for 30 episodes before the end of this year, and that is what I have set to do. So just as a general update, this week's episode will be the one episode for this week, but next week and the week after, I'll be dropping two episodes. One should either drop either Monday or Tuesday, but I'll obviously post on social media to let you guys know. And then I'll do a Christmas episode, and then the following week, Monday or Tuesday, yet again, and then a New Year's episode. So, yeah, I want to follow through with what I said I was going to do, and that's a big part of something that I want to work on as well too. Is just making sure that I follow through, and that's just something I want to be a part of my character, and I don't want that to be something that wavers with time. So, anyway. Yeah, that's that. As far as just like a general update on me, yeah, I've really gotten locked in after that trip that I mentioned last week. And it's been really eye-opening and helpful to just get the proper perspective from seeing different family and having conversations with my brother, but also to reflect on that in my own personal time. And I had a chance to do that this past weekend, where I just looked at, my revenue that I had generated in my business since I had started. I looked at, how I've gone about my business in my coaching service. I looked at my financial habits, what I was spending money on, and, certain things that I committed to that I probably should have done a little bit more research on. I just, a complete reflection over the past week. And it was really, really encouraging more than anything. I think that I realized that I've made a lot of growth and strides that I didn't think about day to day, I should say. And I don't think any of us do because we're so focused on whatever it is in front of us. But I really encourage you to just take a second and reflect a little bit, and yeah, just to see what will come out of that. Because for me, what I've realized is some things need to change, and I want to start to keep track of those things that I want to change, and I want to be held accountable to those things that I want to change. Because if I want different results, I can't keep doing the same stuff. But I've also realized that things have changed for the better because I have changed some of my habits and I have removed certain things from my life. And it's been a net benefit and a net good. But there's also some things that I still got in my life that I need to remove. And that's what I'm working on now. So that's what I want to talk about in this episode is just some things that I've realized need to change and how I'm going to go about them. Okay, so let's dive right into it. I took some notes just to make sure I didn't forget anything. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was my relationship with my body image. This is something that, as a fitness coach, most people who watch this or maybe follow me may think that, like, you know, I'm always in shape and I'm always like on top of my stuff, but I live a life too, and I have different things that go on where it throws me off track and I'm trying to come back or whatever. And I think I'm hyper aware of it because of my profession. As a coach, I want to live by example. And that's part of the reason why I started fitness coaching was, hey, I want to go into something that's going to hold me accountable to staying healthy and being on top of my fitness. The reality of that, though, is it can then become a bit of a detriment mentally because I start to feel like my worth is attached to my body fat percentage or to my appearance. And it becomes way more of an idol in my life than I should allow it to be. And that's something that I've realized I've had periods of doing, especially this year, because I've gotten into some of the best shape that I've ever been in. And when you get to those points, you're like, oh, like, all right, what's next? You know, it still is never good enough. And it's something that I think everybody struggles with, but in particular, it's almost counterintuitive. Like the more in shape that you're in, I've noticed that people tend to be even more insecure about their body image and whatnot, which is crazy because you would think it's the exact opposite. So yeah, I've realized that, and I've had some things that have popped up mentally where I'm like, yo, I'm focusing on the wrong things. So what I decided to do to combat that, and something that you can try for yourself as well too, is just stop tracking things and stop giving it so much of my attention. So I would have these periods where I would weigh myself consistently, and whenever I'd see changes in the scale, and the crazy part is this is the stuff that I'm telling my clients not to do, and I'm doing it myself for crying out loud. Struggling. But yeah, I would like obsess over the scale and think like, oh, like I need to be, you know, 5 pounds lighter, and that'll bring me back to where I was or whatever. I've also just stopped taking progress photos and going to the gym wearing certain clothing that I feel like exposes me more so I can just like obsess over myself in the mirror. And don't get me wrong, like it's great to continue to work on your physique and make changes and improvements. I'm just saying for me right now, that hasn't been serving me. It's been counterproductive because I've hyper obsessed over it. And I think it's been something that's slowed down what I should be focusing on, which is the work, just being obedient. Whenever we're trying to achieve something, a lot of the times we get so obsessed over the results and when it's going to happen, we get so impatient. And we just got to focus on the doing of the things that are going to get us there, not so much on, okay, where am I at now? Where am I at now? Don't get me wrong, like tracking your progress is important. But if you're so focused on like the result and having the change in those moments, then you're going to lose all of the momentum and hyper stress over things that just aren't really realistic to expect along such a journey. So for me, I'm focusing on just, you know, my workouts, logging my meals. I've gotten back into that because I also realized that I was eating a few extra calories that I just, you know, I was like, oh, I'm in a calorie deficit. And then I started logging my meals and was like, oh, I actually haven't been in a calorie deficit. I've been maintaining. So makes sense why things haven't been changing. So yeah, those are some of the things that I've been doing on the fitness front, just because I feel like I had started to make it too much of an idol in my life. And for any of you who may struggle with the same thing, it's okay to take like a month break. I've actually done this with some of my clients where I've said like, let's just take a month off of logging, or not logging, I should say, like your food, but a month off of weighing yourself, taking progress photos, because it could become so much of a distraction that you emotionally are in a pendulum swinging left and right, and it's just not productive. So anyway, that's what I'm doing on the fitness front, and just to make sure that I'm more focused on obedience than on the results. The other thing, which is way more important, is my prayer life. So I don't know if you've gone through this before, but I've recently had times where I just would go through the motions on my prayer, and I would just say the things that I know I want to say, and I would be disciplined with how I was praying, but it wasn't building the relationship. I feel like it was sort of just checking in with God and just checking a box. And if anyone has been in any successful relationship, yes, you should have things that you do to continue to maintain and grow that relationship. But if you're not being vulnerable with that person, if you're not sharing what's on your mind and what's going on in your current situation, a lot of the times it can lose its depth. It can lose its foundation, which is honesty, which is truth. And I felt like I was losing that with God personally, where I wasn't being vulnerable. I was praying for the people I wanted to pray for. I was praying for my day to go a certain way and whatever. But I wasn't really spending time sharing what was on my heart and asking for guidance and clarity in my prayer. The other thing that I wasn't doing as well too was meditating on the the situation, I should say, but like also meditating to see what comes in my mind after those prayers. Because a lot of the times, we think about prayer as just a one-way direction. And the times that I've gotten the best results out of my prayer, or not even the best results, but it felt the most fulfilling to do in exercise, was when I would speak to God, but I would also allow time for silence and to hear if there's anything that comes as a result of that prayer or just at all. And a lot of that for me has been because there's been a lot on my mind, and it can be hard to sit still and not think about things outside of what I want to think about, and not hearing God's voice in those moments. And I've had those phases where it's just been tough to hear God, but I've just decided that if I'm going to pray, I want to pray and build an actual relationship. If I'm going to my Heavenly Father asking for something or asking for clarity and support and sharing all of these things, and then I just shut the window or shut the door after I've said all of that, I'm missing out on the opportunity to actually hear what God has in store for me. And if there's some sort of guidance and direction that I can take from that prayer. So that's something that I've done recently and that I've been focusing on, is just changing, and not even changing my prayer life, but coming back to what I know works best for me and what I know is healthy for any relationship, which is a two-way street of dialogue. Okay, so that's a big thing for me that I've been doing. Another thing that I'll mention is I'm planning my days before I go to bed. It's so crazy how I've recommended this to clients, and it's been such a game changer for all of them once they do it consistently, especially those who have a schedule that is flexible and they're more in control of when they can do stuff and when they don't do stuff. And for me, being an online fitness coach, my work is all really up to me. So if I plan my days the night before, I wake up with so much more intention. I have a lot more clarity on what steps that I'm taking each day and what I'm going to do. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you work a 9 to 5 job and you have to go into a specific location, or you're working from home, there's still those down periods, and there's still before work and after work, where if you planned it, you would be a lot more intentional about your time, and you would do the things that you actually want to do, and not just the things that you feel emotionally inclined to do in the moment based off of how your day went. So that's something for me that has been huge, is just planning my days before I go to bed and having a game plan versus having no plan. So if you're not doing that, if you're somebody who is just like winging it every day, there's some people who do great with that and they're still productive. They're still getting things done. Wonderful. I just imagine how much more productive they would be if they actually planned it, and if they were more intentional about the time that they were putting in each day and working on the things that they want to. Because I don't know about you, but I've had many a times where I was freestyling stuff, and I would sit there and be working on something for so long that I did not need to be working on. And it wasn't the most high value thing that I needed to work on that day, or even just to think about. So when it comes to planning my days, I've just made it more of a priority, because then I know the correct priorities for the following day, and I operate a lot better with that plan. So as far as the logistic goes, I just do it on my iPhone app. It's nothing crazy. my iCalendar or whatever, and just start blocking off time that way. And that's from when I wake up until I go to sleep. Even planning free time so that I can decompress. Although I haven't been doing a great job of that recently. The other thing that I've been struggling with this for my entire life, and it's something that I think maybe some people can resonate with when you move away from home. But even when I was back home, I was still pretty terrible at it, which is just, initiating contact with friends and family. This is something that I really had to like pray and work on and just change my perspective on it entirely because, yeah, whenever I think to reach out to someone, my mind will come up with so many different excuses as to why I shouldn't do it. Oh, you should text them first. Or, oh, they're going to think that I want something from them because I haven't reached out to them in a while. Or, how do I even start this conversation? What do I say? I don't want to like word vomit in a message to them. All of these different things. And all of that is just excuses to not just say, hey, or how you doing? Just something simple. And yeah, I've just personally struggled with that because when I get into my own bucket at home, that's all that I work on and think about is just, like my clients, um, making sure I'm taking care of myself, all these different things that I just get like so engulfed in, and I don't have any sort of like foresight to anything outside of that world, which I believe is very unhealthy. And I've seen how unhealthy it can get because then it could form a lot of like isolation because I haven't initiated that contact. And if I'm just waiting for people to reach out to me all the time, then there may be periods where I don't hear from anybody. And, that is a very dangerous spot to be in just mentally. So, yeah, just reaching out to people and not letting the enemy convince me that I shouldn't, that they don't want to hear from me or they're going to suspect something from me. It's like a very paranoid and just pessimistic mindset that I've had to get rid of. And just as an update, I have made a bunch of, like text messages. I've sent a bunch of text messages and reached out to a handful of, friends and, family members as well too, just to check in and see how they're doing. And yeah, I'm proud of myself for doing that. But it's something that I've struggled with for the longest, and here we are working on it today. So wanted to mention that as well too. The other thing that I've found to be helpful, and this is going to be helpful for those who maybe get on their phone and scroll on social media a lot. I've decided that whenever I have downtime and whenever I'm like in between meetings or in between tasks, I'm not going to go straight to my phone. It's so subconscious nowadays. It's like just a strange relationship that we have with our phones where it is like our best friend. We just check in with it and see what's happening because it's so easy to do. What I've decided is that when those moments arise, I want to be as conscious about praying and sort of just speaking whatever it is that I'm thinking in that moment so that I'm not going to the distraction and to the numbing experience of scrolling on social media all day. I feel like that time should be reserved for a specific time of the day or very like small moments within the day where there's absolutely nothing going on. But I don't want that to be the majority of the time that I'm spending is just consuming social media. And for someone who operates my business almost entirely on social media, it could be hard, because you get messages from potential clients, you have to post, so you have to get on there, and then you wind up seeing whatever else is on there as well too. So that's something that I've realized is an opportunity for me to connect more with the Lord and just build that relationship. The other thing I'll say too is if I am on social media, I've decided that I'm just going to fix my algorithm. I'm just going to make it all of what I want to consume. So for example, what I did is I went on the explore page and I just started searching things that I actually wanted to consume. A lot more like faith-based content, a lot more wholesome and mindset-related things, and a lot of what was on there before was sports or funny things that were very entertaining. But what I've done now is just said like, all right, if I'm gonna be on social media, I'm going to control what I'm consuming, and I'm gonna make the algorithm do what I want it to instead of just allowing it to tell me what I should be consuming based off of what's funny and what's entertaining. So I've done that recently, and this is something that anybody can do. You can go on Instagram and TikTok, you can start searching for the things that you actually want to start consuming. And then I just start liking and reposting all of that stuff because then it's telling the algorithm, oh, this is what he engages with, this is what he likes. We're going to feed him more of that. And my feed and everything has become a lot more of what I'd prefer it to be as opposed to purely sports and entertainment and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, just a lot that I've done with managing, looking at my phone, especially scrolling on social media. And hopefully you found that helpful because I think everybody is struggling with that these days. So, yeah, just a little bit of a social media hack for you. Um, Another big thing that I realized I wanted to work on was taking on challenges that I have head on and not delaying the confrontation. So I don't know about you, but I can be a bit conflict averse. And what essentially that is it's me running away from problems when it feels uncomfortable to address them because I either don't know how to address them or I'm fearful of what could happen as a result of addressing it and going about it the wrong way, right? I've felt this with relationships. I can definitely remember times where I just gave up very easily because that was the easiest thing to do, was just to leave the situation or just move away from it. And there's a lot of power in being able to like control your emotions, think through something clearly, and respond and not be so reactive to whatever life brings you and operating so much in your emotions. And for me, as a man of Christ and a man that wants to be a father one day, a man that wants to be a husband, like I have to work on those things now in order to become what I'm aspiring to be for my potential family. Like if I don't work on this stuff now, then me having a family is just going to amplify those problems. It's just going to make me more of that thing because now I have constant stimulants for whatever I haven't dealt with yet. And that's something that I really feel like is important for me to do in this time of singleness and in this time of personal development and building my own relationship with the Lord, is to work on the things that are kind of underlying challenges of mine and face them head on. Because if I have an issue with my kids someday, I don't want to like tuck it under the rug and have this sort of attitude and mindset trickled onto them and their mindset, right? Like I want them to tackle their issues head on, and I want my family to be an example of that. So I just think down the line, and I think about the future and how important it is for me to start working on those things now, to be an example and to be a leader in my future family for those things, but also in my current family, amongst my friends, amongst my clients. I don't want to sit here and keep delaying the inevitable and like acting as if there isn't conflict and just delaying it to avoid something uncomfortable. Like I want to tackle those things head on. So for me, I've had to just focus on and believe and have faith in the fact that those challenges that I'm facing are not bigger than Christ. They're not bigger than my relationship with the Lord. And if I lean on that more than I'm leaning on my emotions and me trying to fix things, then I know that God has ordered my steps correctly, and I know that I have a relationship with him enough to be prepared for any conflict or any situation that arises. And that's just been my shift. That's been my mindset. I don't want to go towards coping mechanisms in order to numb myself away from whatever it is that I feel is uncomfortable. I want to attack. I want to go right at it. And I've just been feeling a lot more encouraged about that as of recently, as I mentioned, just because of the road trip that I went on with my brother, with my family, and seeing how there's patterns that I want to break from past generations in my current generations. And I want that to be something that my kids and my family don't even have to think about. So a lot of that has been what's been going on in my personal life and what I've been working towards and changing and adjusting. And it's felt really empowering. A lot of people aren't conscious of these things and don't take the time to reflect and sort of assess what is happening underneath the layers of their decisions and their thoughts. And when we get some time to really reflect and have real conversations with ourselves, and also to pray and also to meditate and listen to God, I think we become a lot more of what God intended us to be, as opposed to trying to make whatever we feel is best for us. And whenever we do that, it usually comes crashing and burning. And we always think that, oh, well, like, I tried to do this and it didn't work out. I'm a failure. I'm terrible. As opposed to looking at it from a third person perspective, from a God lens, and saying like, oh, like God ordered this for me. Like he put this in front of me so that I can learn this lesson, so that I can become a better man and continue this journey of life and making strides towards, what Christ called me to be. So yeah, a lot of that has been going on for me recently. And yeah, I figured I'd share that with y'all because, you never know who might be encouraged or who might need that perspective as well too. So that's it for me today, y'all. I wanted to share some of those updates. And like I said, I'll be dropping 2 episodes next week and the following week to make sure we get to 30 before the end of the year. I appreciate y'all listening as always. And if there's anything that you feel like you got of value from this, please share this with your friends. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, comment. And yeah, I just appreciate you tuning in as always. Okay, so hope you've been encouraged to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. I am done for this episode, and y'all go on and be wholesome. All right, do good things, follow the Lord.